In this video, I hope to talk about market equilibrium and some interpretation of a perfectly competitive market for a good like cornflakes. So the most significant feature that we see are that the supply and demand curves intersect at one point and one point only, and that point has a price and quantity associated with it. That price, here labeled P0, is our equilibrium price, and that quantity here labeled Q0 is our equilibrium quantity. There are competitive forces which will always drive any market to this kind of equilibrium price and quantity, and I'm going to show you just how that works. When we go to a price greater than P0, as I've done here with this dashed line, what we notice is that now the quantity supplied at that price is greater than the quantity demanded at that price. We always take the quantity demanded off of our demand curve, the quantity supplied off of our supply curve at any price. Back here at P0, the two were equal to each other because supply and demand were both in the same place. At this higher price, they're not. Now, the quantity demanded by buyers is a limiting factor. Sellers want to sell this many units, but buyers are only willing and able to buy this smaller quantity at that price. This situation when the quantity supplied is greater than the quantity demanded, which happens at every price above our equilibrium price. I just chose one spot here. This represents a market surplus. And when we have a market surplus, these sellers are going to find that the size of that surplus is measured as the difference between these quantities down here. Those are going to all be unsold units that build up the inventories of these sellers. And they're going to need and want to get rid of those inventories. And they're going to find that buyers don't want to buy that many units at the current price. The only way to get buyers to buy a larger quantity is to lower the price. So forces drive the price of the market down until we get to the equilibrium price of P0, where quantity supplied and demanded are equal to each other. Buyers and sellers want to buy and sell and make the number of transactions that are equal to each other, clearing the market. That's why the equilibrium price is also known as the market clearing price. If we go to a lower price below our equilibrium price of P0, as I've done by drawing this new line in here, now what we notice is at this price, the quantity demanded is going to be a larger quantity than the quantity supplied. The number of units that sellers are willing to produce and sell is limiting the number of transactions that happens. The buyers want to buy this larger number, but sellers are only willing to make and sell this smaller quantity. Therefore, at every price below the equilibrium price, just like at this representative one I've chosen, the quantity demanded greater than the quantity supplied means we have a market shortage. That leads buyers to compete against each other to get the quantity that are available for sale, driving our price up until we reach the equilibrium price again. So whether we find ourselves at prices above or below the equilibrium price, because the quantity supplied and the quantity demanded are not one and the same as they are at the equilibrium price, there will be forces driving the price lower, driving the price higher until we hit it. And then at our equilibrium price, the market is stable. It remains there indefinitely until or unless there's some kind of external change to jolt it out of that equilibrium situation. Now, often because we're so focused on the price and the quantity supplied and demanded at price, we sometimes overlook or forget that you can just go to a quantity and make comparisons between what we know as the supply and the demand prices of that quantity. At equilibrium, the supply and demand prices are one and the same. But at a quantity less than Q0 like here, We know that the supply price off of the supply curve at that quantity is lower than the demand price of that quantity. In other words, when the quantity is less than our equilibrium quantity, buyers are going to be offering and willing to pay more for that quantity than sellers' costs of producing that quantity. And therefore, sellers are going to expand their output, moving us to Q0. When we go to a quantity above Q0, now the supply price is higher than the demand price. So for this larger quantity, buyers aren't willing or able to pay what sellers need to get in order to produce and sell that quantity. So those sellers are going to reduce their quantity of output, moving us back towards Q0. So hopefully all of this has helped to give you a little better insight about how we are driven to our equilibrium and what kinds of market conditions like surpluses and shortages can exist.